The New York Jets are a huge disaster. They're 2-5 right now, and when they traded for Aaron Rodgers a few years ago, it was believed that this dude was going to be the savior for the Jets franchise. Aaron Rodgers was going to be the dude to lead the Jets back to glory. But all he's done instead is make this the biggest circus in the NFL right now. Aaron Rodgers, he's the ringleader, and everybody else behind him are clowns in this circus that the Jets are. And I believe that the Jets were better off sticking with Zach Wilson or finding any other quarterback not named Aaron Rodgers. Because for as talented as what he is, he's a cancer in the locker room. All right, he has created a toxic locker room environment for a lot of these Jets players, rather that be throwing Mike Williams under the bus, not really wanting to take all the accountability. Every time Aaron Rodgers has to talk to the media after a loss, he takes a little bit of accountability, but he always likes to point the finger at other people for why things haven't gone right. And Aaron Rodgers was going to be the sole factor in if the Jets were going to make a playoff run or not. And with how he's played these last couple of games, throwing 3 interceptions against the Minnesota Vikings, he didn't play good against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday night. He needs to be held 100% accountable for the disaster that the New York Jets currently are right now. And he has set this franchise back even more years than what they already were behind when they made the disastrous decision to draft Zach Wilson second overall in the last couple of drafts ago. You know, the Jets right now, I can't take this team seriously, and they aren't going to turn this thing around. They aren't a well-coached team. The defense has dropped off ever since Aaron Rodgers got Robert Saleh fired. And you bring in Davante Adams, which you thought would have improved the offense, but you only put up 15 points against the Pittsburgh Steelers. You got took to the woodshed in that game. Mike Tomlin put on a coaching clinic against Jeff Ulbrich. Jeff Ulbrich is obviously not qualified to be a head coach in the NFL, rather it be on an interim level or a full-term basis. This dude is in over his head. Aaron Rodgers has created this shit show. And it's up to him to find a way to get the Jets out of this hole, which is not going to happen. You're going to be able to beat the Patriots, but I don't see the Jets being able to beat any of the best teams on their schedule. Are they capable? Do they have the talent to do so? Yes, they do, but they don't have anything else that it takes to win outside of being a good roster. Winning football games in the National Football League isn't always about who has the best team. It's about having good chemistry, being well coached, and the Jets have none of those. This team is full of a lot of individuals that are out for themselves. Hassan Reddick, the dude is now showing up because the Jets redid his contract, but he doesn't really care about if the Jets succeed or not. All he cared about was getting his. Aaron Rodgers, he seems to only care about himself, because if he cared about what was best for this team, he never would have gotten Robert Saleh fired. Even if he didn't get along with the guy, everybody else loved Robert Saleh. The defense played at their best when Robert Saleh was the head coach. It's funny how Robert Saleh got fired after the Vikings beat them, yet the Vikings had the worst display of offense for the entirety of this season up to that point against the New York Jets. Sam Darnold struggled. They really couldn't get anything going offensively. But yet, Aaron Rodgers throws 3 interceptions in that loss, and yet Robert Saleh is the dude who has to go. But Nathaniel Hackett is still allowed to be a coach on this coaching staff. Are you kidding me right now? Aaron Rodgers is the ringmaster for this clown show that he's running down there in the Big Apple. And it's no denying that Aaron Rodgers, the way that he's running this Jets franchise, is really equivalent to the way that LeBron James has been running the Los Angeles Lakers. Not only is he the coach, but he also is the general manager as well. This is Aaron Rodgers' team. He wanted Davante Adams. He wanted Allen Lazard. He wanted Tyron Smith. The Jets have given this dude everybody he wanted. fired the coach who he didn't get along with, and yet what does this team have to show for it? They're 2-5, arguably the worst team in the AFC East. This team has massively underperformed because of Aaron Rodgers. He's not a good leader. He's a cancer. And now we see why the Packers were more than willing to move on and allow Jordan Love to get the opportunity to take over the reins, which has proven to be a great decision. Aaron Rodgers is a nut job. The dude is a head case. I knew that the Jets were going to be a disaster this season when Aaron Rodgers missed days of mandatory minicamp to go across seas in a different country to go do drugs. That's when I knew that this was going to be a shit show this year, because that is not what you expect out of the leader of your football team. You would never see Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, or any of the top quarterbacks in the game right now skip days of mandatory practice to go do drugs. Just because it's Aaron Rodgers doesn't mean that he gets a pass. Tom Brady never missed days of practice intentionally unless it was a family emergency or something like that. So Aaron Rodgers doesn't deserve a pass. You can say, well, it doesn't matter if he missed practice. That's old. Well, this team is 2-5, and they're not playing good football. Aaron Rodgers hasn't played up to standards, and you can blame him missing days of mandatory minicamp to go do ayahuasca for one of the reasons why the Jets are in this disastrous situation. Jets fans, I feel really bad for y'all right now, because y'all thought that for the first time in decades, you were actually going to have something to cheer for when you watch this team. But now, instead of cheering for this team to make it to the playoffs, you're now probably cheering for this nightmare to be over, because it's just such a big disappointment that Aaron Rodgers is going to end his career on such a sour note because he wanted to create his own team, build his own roster, create his own coaching staff, and you see the massive disaster that he has caused within the Jets franchise. The Jets already had a Looney Tune owner, and now you bring in a Looney Tune quarterback. Of course, what you thought was going to happen. This thing is about to get really ugly for Aaron Rodgers and the rest of that Jets locker room over the next month or so. Because outside of the Patriots, there isn't another game on their schedule that I really think they got a fair shot at being able to win with how dysfunctional this team is. Look, they can't even get a challenge flag thrown. You got Aaron Rodgers throwing an attitude with Jeff Albrecht because he took too long to throw the red challenge flag. Like, he wants to blame the media, saying how, man, well, I need to stop listening to you guys in the media because you guys aren't making things any better. Aaron Rodgers, the media is only coming at you like this because the expectations were so high and you're not living up to those expectations. They rated nearly a whole entire year for this. And to be let down, going 2-5 at this point in the season, the media has a right to be critical. They have a right to attack you because you haven't held up your end of the bargain. You've played like a mid quarterback. You don't look like the bad man anymore. You got moments when you look like what you used to be, but right now you're a skeleton of the Aaron Rodgers that we've seen and grown up with so many years when you were playing with the Packers. You're nothing more but a memory. People are thinking of you for what you used to be in your glory days. Father Time has caught up to Aaron Rodgers. The dude is done. He's not good enough at this stage of his career to help the New York Jets elevate to being a playoff team because of how dysfunctional this franchise is. You can say that the Jets are cursed, but you also got to take into account that Aaron Rodgers hasn't helped you find any solutions to get rid of your decade-long curse of constantly drowning in mediocrity. Every time Bill Belichick talks about the Jets, he always makes a joke of them because that's the only thing the Jets can be looked at as the biggest joke in the National Football League. Robert Saleh, their owner and their general manager, flew thousands of miles across the country to get on their knees, put their pom-poms in the air to beg for Aaron Rodgers to play for them. And look where it's gotten them. They're 2-5, and they're a joke. They're a laughing stock. You got embarrassed by Grandpa Russell Wilson and Mike Tomlin on national football or on national television. You know, everybody and their mama was picking the Jets to win that game, and instead, you got humiliated. The Jets are a disaster, and this team sucks right now because of the mess Aaron Rodgers has created.